tuning in. This is Optibotimus with another video review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 288 of the Black Widow from Avengers Age of Ultron. As you can see for the package, very similar to what we got before, but again, much like we saw with all the other ones, including a Hawkeye, the War Machine, and even Iron Man, the actual coloring has a hue that's very similar to what could be identified with the character itself. So with her, you got a little bit of red kind of thrown in here. On the side here, you do have her little Black Widow logo. On the back, you got the various warnings, as well as other contact information. It just has a slip cover that slides up just like so, and then on the back, you have the cast and crew responsible for making the figure. Coming around to the side again, you got that same logo, but now instead of the silver foil, it's just the white image. Then come around here to the front, and you got the window package that fully displays the figure within. And then obviously, like I said, the color kind of carries through. You got the little red stripe right there. But for the packaging, it is very similar in terms of the comparison to the other Age of Ultron figures, so it's nothing that we're not really familiar with already. But for the packaging, that is about it. So without further ado, let's get her out here and see how cool she actually is. Alright guys, so here we have the Black Widow from the Avengers Age of Ultron open up and out of the packaging. And again, we have a really nice evolution of the character, and Hot Toys nicely showing off their ability to perfect figures. Widow here is a real great example of that entire process. Now, starting off first with her accessories. As you can see, she comes with a couple different things. As always, she does come with the wrist pegs. These are the little bit smaller of ones because this is a smaller figure and it doesn't require the larger pegs that the male figures have. So you do get a pair of extras. In addition to the hands that are currently on her, I actually have it mixed and matched. You have a right and left fisted hand. Obviously, I have the fisted hand currently on the figure, and then here's the left-handed one. So you do have that. One thing that's really nice is you can see these little blue highlights painted on there, and that's very true with the suit itself. There's a lot more color in this, and some people actually don't like that. I think it looks really pretty cool. So you do get a right and left fisted hand. In addition to that, you also get a right and left kind of clenched hand used to hold her batons, which I'll show you here, but again, you got that same painted blue detail on there. The rest is all black. So again, right and left hand used to hold those. You do get a right and left trigger hand with the finger protruding forward so that you can have her hold a gun or one of these blaster things. And then you also do get a right and left relaxed hand. Again, the same amount of detail that all the hands have. You got the little blue paint right on there. You got the little blue stripes right down there. So all those hands really help to allow you the ability to utilize all these accessories and get some cool poses. She also does come with this little dagger thing. It actually doesn't do anything. I mean, it doesn't detach or anything like that. It's got this little peg on here that clips on her actual belt, but it doesn't come out or anything, so you just have this. So it's really kind of weird, and honestly, it doesn't stay pegged up on here all that well. I mean, it barely does, and you can't see what I'm doing. It barely does just kind of sit in there and get the hand out of the way. But I mean, it can stay in there, but if you bump it, it will pop off. So just, and I can't see where the whole thing is. There we go. Is that right? No, that's not even lined up properly. There we go. Come on, get that in there. So I mean, it sits there, but you're fiddling with it the whole time. So I mean, it can be there, but it's really not that great of a fit. I mean, you bump it and it'll just pop right off. So honestly, this is just going to go into storage and really not even get used. So you do get it though, and it's cool that they add accessories like that just to kind of round out the actual costume. But the functionality of it isn't very good. She also does come with just one gun. Now, all previous versions, she had two guns and two different holsters, both on her right and left leg. This one, she just has one gun, which is really nice. You've got the cocking mechanism. You can come down here. The clip can be pulled out and slid back in, so that's really cool. And one thing that I like about this version of the Black Widow is that she's a much more hand-to-hand combat kind of person, and that's where these bits come in. You saw her using these a lot. These are little batons. These are the collapsed version of the baton. And very simple. You got some nice molding on there, but it's basically the handle, and then the bottom section here is just this little silver bit. And then you do get extended versions of them, which looks really cool, and I really like the clear blue here. That gives a really cool kind of electric look to it. So, I mean, I dig that. And like I said, I like the fact that she was a much more hands-on fighter in this movie, as opposed to relying on her weapons, which she can. She's very adept at using a multiple of different guns and things like that. But I liked seeing her actually basically just kick butt. And these are really cool pieces to have. Now, in addition to that, you also do get these effect things. Now, I've kind of complained about these before. These actually don't bother me all that much. They're designed for her gauntlets, so you just put these on kind of around her fists, and it shows like this electric current kind of going through there. For some reason, these ones don't bother me all that much. Maybe because they're incorporated a little bit better, and they're a little bit more subtle, I guess, but I really dig these. Now, as you can see, I got the fist on here, but you remember that she did have these different gauntlets on here, so you just take this, and like I said, you basically just wedge this up there on her fist area, and you can have something like that, which I think looks really cool, and it simulates like an electric burst when she's punching somebody. I kind of dig that. And then the other thing that I like is with the baton, you can kind of put that in there. I don't know exactly what powered the baton, but I like to think maybe it was the electric power in the gauntlets that kind of shifted some electricity to this. So in doing that, you can bring this down like so, kind of put that around there. Again, I'm not very good at posing things that much, but you could do something like that to give it a cool, like these are powered up to send electricity to these. I just think that that looks really neat. Like I said, it's a little bit more subtle than some of the other ones like Electro and the Iron Man Mark 41. These just, I don't know. I think that these have a little cooler and more real of a look, and I don't get as much of a toy kind of feel for them. But I dig them. I think they're really neat. Now, in addition to all this stuff, she also does get two extremely large, I'm just going to leave that in there, blaster things. I have no idea, honestly, where these came from. You do get two of them. They're the exact same. But I don't remember, and you can see this extends out. This section here can fold down. I don't remember seeing this in the movie at all. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember her using something like this when she was, or when the Avengers team was infiltrating the Hydra base in the beginning of the movie, and I don't remember her using this in the end battle scene. So if somebody can tell me where these came from, I'd probably appreciate it. But it's a cool looking gun. Like I said, I just don't have any recollection of where it came from. I don't know if anything actually detaches on here, but I mean, it's a cool looking weapon. I would imagine it looks like some kind of an energy weapon, so it's definitely possible that this is a Hydra weapon. Like I said, I just have no clue where it came from, and like I talked about, you do get two of them, so you can have her dual wielding these guys. And again, that's cool, but for me, I did really like the physical aspect that she brought to the actual character in this film. So these really aren't all that impressive to me in terms of a display option, but you can see some real great molded detail on here, some great variations in the paint. You got the gunmetal section right here, you got the black, and a little bit of gold highlight right in there. I mean, some silver right up at the front. I mean, it's overall a really great looking weapon. Just, I have no idea where it came from. And then, like I've talked about before, you do get the really cool Avengers Age of Ultron display stand. You got the Black Widow and Avenger logo right there. You got the real cool texture right here with the adjustable cradle. Now, I have talked about how, like, this is a big display piece, and it takes up a lot of space on a D12. I really haven't shown this very much, but this is what came with the original Avengers Black Widow. I mean, you can see just how large of a footprint this takes up. So that's why I was saying I wish that, maybe not necessarily replacing this, but replacing the bottom section with this. If you could have had this plug into a bottom section like this as well, I probably would have preferred that, because just look how much, I mean, it really does take up a considerable amount of space when you compare it. It's really kind of interesting that they decided to go with this. It is definitely a nicer display piece, but for collectors such as myself who have a lot of these, and I like keeping them in my details, I mean, I think that this is a better option. Again, it's a personal preference kind of thing. Not everybody uses the shelves that I use to display my figures, so I'm not expecting Hot Toys to cater just to me or the D12 market, but I think that this would be a nice option for people to actually use when displaying their figures. But again, that's just my personal opinion. Now, coming to the figure herself, like I said, this is a nice evolution of the character, and Hot Toys has done a great job of keeping up with that. Now, one thing that I'll say is that the head sculpt is the same that we got in the Winter Soldier version. What's obviously different is the hairstyle. Now, I like the hair on the Winter Soldier one a whole lot better than any of the previous Black Widow figures. But honestly, I didn't care for the style. And that's not Hot Toys' fault, that's the movie's fault. I much prefer this kind of look. The problem, though, is this gives a very wet, dirty, well, not dirty, but just kind of wet and messy kind of look, which isn't bad. I do prefer it, like I said, but for a comparison, here she is. And here you have her next to the original Avenger version. And as you can see, it's a little bit more like her original look. I didn't like just the straight hair, but the way that hair was done was much better than this. I mean, you got the hair gel and stuff in here that kind of makes her look like Marilyn Monroe, and then this one just looks like she just got out of the shower. So while I prefer this style, I don't like the way that the hair's actually done. But like I said, I didn't like the style of just the straight look. So I'm kind of left with a unfulfilled kind of feeling when it comes to her hair. Now, like I said, the sculpt and everything with the actual portrait is the exact same. So I don't think it looks all that bad. A lot of people still prefer this one and think that this has a better representation of Scarlett Johansson. I don't necessarily agree. I think they both look like her. I think that the differences are minute and not worth kind of fretting over. But again, you can see an evolution of the suit as well here. Whereas this one is this more really dark gray with these slight gray highlights kind of going throughout it. And obviously the less color here in the glove area. You can see that this does capture her Age of Ultron look that much better. And I really do like it. The suit is really very nice. You got this different material than what we got before, where it is very flexible, but it's not that rubbery suit, so it doesn't necessarily feel like it's going to get all that damaged over time. It can stretch out and you can get it kind of looking the way that it did normally. So all that articulation is still there and it's pretty well done. Now you can see again, you got the nice blue highlights that come through here, much like we actually saw in the film itself. You got that on her arms as well. It comes up here. You got these little blue bits on her shoulder area. All in all, really very nice. Now, one thing that you're seeing that is unique to this is that she has one belt, whereas the previous version, she had two different belts. One of them had the Black Widow logo on there, and then the rest was her utility belt kind of thing. This is all incorporated in one piece, and you got these different pouches throughout here, which really aren't all that functional, but they look really good, and there's some nice sculpting actually put on there. Come down here, you got the holster for her gun, which works really well. I don't particularly like how this is strapped to her leg. I wish that I could slide this up, but it feels like it's actually sewn it down here at her thigh, so it keeps it in that position. But what it ends up doing is the way that it should be is her belt should be straight like that. Constantly, though, it ends up sliding just like that, and I guess that kind of looks cool. It gives a, you know, resting on the hip look, but ideally it should stay down like that. But in moving things around, because it is attached here, it ends up making this lift up and this section stay down. So if that's the look that you're going for, great, but personally I think that it looks better like this. You do have some elbow pads and some knee pads here. You can see you got on the elbows the little blue highlights. Oh, I didn't even notice this. You got some of these little blue bits that come around here to the back as well. And then the knee pads right here are, well, not even really at the knee. Well, those are at the knee. This, you got to twist this around. This is, what came off here? Oh, the clip for her gun fell out. That's not good. Keep that up in there. This is off to the side, so I'm going to have to rotate that around, get that in the proper configuration, because when you bend her knee, that should be there and not off to the side, so that's a little bit annoying. But you can see that when you do that, it does kind of stretch things out, but you can then take this and stretch the outfit out so that you create that seamless kind of look still. So it's really not that bad. I really do like the way that the gauntlets are. You got the nice red in here. I just like the extra color in the suit in general. I think it makes things pop and it doesn't look as boring. But really overall pretty cool. In terms of the articulation, it is all still there. The head is on a ball joint up here. It also does have a very solid neck joint that allows you to look way far down like that. I mean, real good range of motion there. It can look left, right. It can fall off. Ouch. That's probably bad, and that's going to mess up her hair. And that belt, or that gun clip, keeps popping out. I don't know why it's doing that all of a sudden. And then the hair, you end up messing it up. But if you just kind of like go like this, and hold it down, you can get it looking better. So that's not that bad. I mean, I kind of dig that. The shoulders move up and down, but again, a little bit restrictive. I mean, you can get it looking that far or moving that far. It can rotate, but then again, you want to rotate the suit as you rotate the arm around. So you get a nice range of motion there. It does move forward and back at the, I guess, armpit. Rotates at the upper part of the bicep, does it? No, well, very little. It does. Well, yeah, it does. It's hard to get it. There it goes. It does rotate. That's really stiff. This one, I don't know why that one's completely locked into place. This, though, you can see rotates around, so that's kind of weird. Does have 2 joints here at the elbow, so you do have that range of motion there. The wrists do move forward and back. They also rotate. She's got a upper diaphragm cut as well as a hip cut down there, so you get a nice range of motion there. It does rotate a little bit, but again, the suit kind of restricts things, but you can see it can twist around, which is good for some good posing options. The hips do move forward that far, but the suit does kind of make it spring back. You can move it far out like that. It is very flexible, which I do like. It can rotate at the upper part of the thigh. Like I said, you got the 2 joints down here at the knee. The ankles really don't do too much. I mean, you can rotate them, and then you can see that it's a little bit softer, so you can angle them in a little bit to get a little bit more wide of a pose, but moving forward and back, you're not really going to get anything. But I like that they're kind of high heels without being high heels. That's kind of cool, actually. I don't know why this keeps popping out now all of a sudden. It didn't do that before until I actually took it out, but you can see for some reason that doesn't stay in there really all that well, so that's something I'm going to have to tighten up. But all in all, though, a really great looking representation. Like I said, I think that the hairstyle is a little bit better on this, but I still don't really like the way that the hair is done. It's really kind of unfortunate, but it's something that in terms of Black Widow figures, we're fairly used to now, I guess. Although I do think that this is a nice update to a Winter Soldier character that nicely fits in the evolution of how she actually looks. By comparison to some of the other figures, this is a pretty easy one to do. They just reused the same head sculpt and gave us a new costume. So much like the Captain America figure, there really isn't much different. It's just slightly fine-tuned and perfected a little bit to give a more accurate representation of how she looks in the Age of Ultron film. So I think if you have that original Avengers version, or even to a lesser degree the Winter Soldier one, I can see people not picking this one up because those are perfectly fine figures. This, like I said, just gives a little bit more of a screen accurate presence. And I like that. For me, I like having the best representation and most current representation of a character in my display. So she fits perfectly. In terms of like her added accessories, things like the baton and the electric effects, actually I think works pretty well. I'm not a big fan of these gun things just because, like I said, I have no idea where they come from. And I've seen Age of Ultron several times and I really don't remember them showing up in the film itself. So like I said, this is a nice evolution of the character, and Hot Toys I really do feel has done a great job of sticking to that and giving her that more updated look. So if this is a figure that you're interested in picking up, she is available at Sideshow Collectibles. So as always, all you have to do is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to Sideshow where you can pick her up and add her to your collection today. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus, and until next time, I'll talk to you later.